Welcome back, Shalloners, and welcome, Pats fans. Yeah, today we're talking about your Lord and Savior, Tom Brady, and his marriage to Gisele Giselle, the supermodel, because Tom recently came out, he did an interview on the Howard Stern show saying that him and Giselle went through kind of a rocky period when she basically sat him down and was like, this is no longer working for me. I can't do this marriage like this. You're not pulling your weight, and like flicked her gorgeous hair and just like showed off her like shimmering mermaid skin. Beautiful creature woman. So we're going to talk about what's really going on behind the scenes with these two, and more importantly, how to get your relationship back on track if you feel like you're growing apart, you're veering off course, or homeboy just ain't pulling his weight anymore. But first, before we get started, just want to remind you to follow me on Instagram for some daily inspiration. I also let you vote on the next video topic and weigh in, which I love. I love hearing your thoughts. And be sure to listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every week, every place podcasts are found. And if you have a love question of your own and want to talk to me one-on-one, find me on my website, shallonlester.com, and click Get Help. Also, find me on Cameo if you want a little video shout out, or a friend's having a birthday, you want me to deliver a very mean message to a fuckboy. No one's had me do that yet, and I really want to. I've got a lot of pent-up emotion in this quarantine, ready to get it out. So apparently, Giselle was ready to get some things off her chest too. Now before we get into this, let me just say up front that I hate them both. I hate both these people. They are the definition of smug, pretentious, privileged, just assholes. And they are at the top of their game, right? They are. You cannot argue with how incredible they are. I mean, he's like a legend. I'm not a football fan, I'm a hockey fan. Well, I'm a fan of the teams if I'm sleeping with someone on the team. How do you care about a team if you're not sleeping with someone on it? It makes no sense to me. Especially when like men are really jazzed about sports. I'm like, so you are a man obsessed with another man that you're not sleeping with, and you're like wearing his jersey? Does anyone else find this so weird? This is so weird to me. It's very strange. And they come across as the least relatable, least likable people on planet Earth. Remember when they talked about their diet? How like they won't eat almonds or nightshades, like eggplants and tomatoes are sent by the devil. And Tom Brady, in what I can only call the stupidest lie a human has ever crafted, claimed he never had a strawberry? Like a strawberry that grows out of the ground. This isn't like a euphemism for some sort of street drug, an actual strawberry, until like 2018. Who in the hell are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool? You could say, I haven't had a strawberry in 10 years. I haven't had a strawberry since I started playing football. You mean to tell me you were a child with no discernible physical talent yet, and you never had a strawberry? Did you grow up in Mongolia? It's just the dumbest, weirdest thing to say that to me is a complete lie. And I actually met Tom Brady one time. I was at a party that he was hosting along with Will Arnett. You know him? He was married to Amy Poehler and on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And everyone's like, Tom Brady, oh my God, he's going to be there. And when you put Will Arnett next to Tom Brady looked, he looked a little touched. He looked like Mr. Peanut. He looked like a gargoyle next to Will Arnett. Will Arnett was stunning. And I know you look at a picture and you're like, really? I promise you, like I have met a lot of celebrities. I know hot when I see it. And I saw Will Arnett and I was like, like the breath, like I died and then came back to life. He's not hot now. He got like bloaty and weird and sort of looks like a middle-aged lesbian, as so many men do. Tom's definitely held his own, but like next to him, like Tom's head is enormous. It's like a third of his body. And I was just like, who the hell has sex with this man on purpose? Who idolizes him? So I don't like them. But I do sort of admire his marriage to Giselle. You know what? As I'm saying that, that's not true. Because here's why I also hate them. Remember how Tom cheated on his pregnant ex-girlfriend, Bridget Monahan, with Giselle? Now, of course, that's not the story they tell. According to Giselle, who like wrote about this in her book that literally no one asked her to write, she's like, Tom and I had been dating 2 months when I found out his ex-girlfriend was pregnant. And then the next day it was all over the news and my world was turned upside down. Bitch, who are you trying to fool? Who in the hell are you trying to fool? We can do the math on that. Carry the 1 minus the plan B. Oh, I'm pretty sure he was cheating. He was with Bridget Monahan for what, years? Over a decade? Like something crazy. And by that time, I'm just going to go out on a limb that a man who's so obsessed with his health and how his body works that he won't have an almond or a strawberry kind kinda knows how sperm works, kinda knows his girlfriend's cycle, kinda knows how birth control works, right? So it's like, oh gee, I don't know. I believe they got like normally pregnant, like just as a couple. And then he's like, oh, but see, Giselle, you know, like Giselle with the face, she wants to fuck me. So, sorry about it. I think he's just a shitbird and a turd. Like at the end of the day, he left a pregnant woman that he loved. And I've seen Bridget Monahan a lot. Like we were in the same suite at the US Open, like I think like 2 years in a row, actually, the Grey Goose suite. And she just looks sad. She's beautiful and she's very sweet, but there's just this sadness behind her eyes. And maybe she always looked like that and like you didn't know, but I'm just like, this poor fucking girl. She also has a concealed carry permit. Like she has a gun on her. Don't you run up on her, Giselle. Fucking try it. So I hate Tom Brady from the point of view of he's just a cheater, you know? And yeah, okay, he married the woman he cheated with. Do you think that's any consolation to his baby mama? Who, by the way, their son is not John Brady. It's John Moynihan. That boy has her name. Get it? Spite. So Tom went on the Howard Stern show and was like, blah, 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 blah. And it's funny how people, celebrities, they go on Stern and they say things that they would never say in other interviews. It's almost like this tacit understanding that if you go on Stern, you're like, you're talking the real deal. And Stern's going to ask you all these crazy questions and you are going to answer them. So I always like it when celebs go on there because I feel like they're at their most real. So he was talking about his 11-year marriage to Giselle. And he's like, she's probably very different. No, she's probably very different. I'm trying to do a Massachusetts accent. She's different than how people would probably see her fucking Dunkin' Donuts. What she's been portrayed as a fashion model. Maybe that's not it. And he said that Giselle, who practices meditation, because of course she does, like she's perfect, she believes in trying to heal herself. And he also said there was a couple years ago, she didn't feel like I was doing my part for the family. She felt like I would play football all season and she would take care of the house. And then all of a sudden, how about all of a sudden? You never had a strawberry. Apparently you never had an education either. All of a sudden, when the season would end, that I'd be like, great, let me get into all my other business activities. Let me get into my football training. And she's sitting there going, well, when are you going to do the things for the house? When are you going to take the kids to school and do that? And Tom said he had to check himself and make a big transition 2 years ago to get things back on track, and which includes skipping certain practices. Who cares? She wasn't satisfied with our marriage, so I needed to make a change in that. This just comes off as a weird, bad Kennedy impersonation. He also said that Giselle wrote him a heartfelt letter and a reminder that life is ever evolving. What worked for us 10 years ago won't work for us forever, Tom said. We're growing in different ways. So, I didn't just do this video so I could shit on him and his egregious lies about strawberries. What did strawberries ever do to you? What have they done to any of us? It's crazy. I want to talk about what we can learn and like what we can do to right the ship. Because if you guys have talked to me in private, and I've probably said this on videos, when we find ourselves using terms like make it work, we're sunk. Because when we say that, I'm willing to bet that 99% of the time, there's only one of you who's trying to make it work. And it's you, baby girl. It's not him. It's not your partner. They're sitting around. There was this, oh shoot, where is it? Shit. There's this thing I just posted on my Instagram. It was a tweet and I can't remember it. It's already expired and I can't find it. But it was something like, the only thing that changes when a man realizes what his problems are is that every single other person in the world orients to fix it and he does absolutely nothing. And I was like, oh, the accuracy, the shame. and the accuracy, because we've been there. So many of us have been there where we're like digging in and we're trying to figure things out and we're going to therapy and we're paying Shallon to ask questions too, and he's doing jack shit. So I feel Giselle from this, where she had to stop and be like, hey, this is not just your world that we're all living in. This is a marriage. This is a family. You're a dad. I'm actually not the hired help. And this is a 2-person job, because she's got a whole job of her own. She's got a whole life of her own. And this is a common complaint for people who are married to athletes, also people who are married to soldiers or dudes who travel a lot for work. It's like they're off traveling and then they come home from deployment or something, and they just want to relax. And the woman's like, I need some fucking help here, okay? Like, you got to fix the gutters. You got to take the kids. Where's my break? And I know that a lot of us are dealing with that in quarantine right now. A lot of you moms who are home, who you've been shouldering the burden for childcare, whatever, and the guy's like, well, I'm still doing work on my computer. And it's like, I don't care. Like, you need to plug into this too. I'm not just this like governess who's raising your heirs for you, and I have nothing better to do. Even if that is kind of the deal. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom and that is your job to raise the kids, no one wants to feel like they're in a marriage all by themselves or a dating relationship. So this is what you can do. And this is how we can use this quarantine time for something good, instead of just spiral after spiral after spiral, carbohydrate after carbohydrate, and just like endless refreshing of Pornhub. So, so what we can do is do what I call a State of the Union address for your relationship. And when I was in my previous relationship, we would do like an evaluation of our relationship every few months. Towards the end, it was much more often than that, as we were like, again, trying to make it work, and it just wasn't, and I'll admit that like I was the one who was just kind of like unplugged, because I felt like I had already plugged in, and I kept saying that. I was like, where were you a year ago when I was like, let's do this, let's really do an audit of our relationship, let's work on this and this, and you were like, I don't care. And now when I've got one foot out the door, suddenly now you give a shit. And it's like, this is too little too late. Like, I'm just tired. I've been on this journey. I've been walking this path by myself, and you want to come in at like mile 25 and finish this marathon? I don't think so. So learn from my mistakes and learn from my trajectory and my history, and get on the path at the same time together. Don't you be running this whole marathon and he swoops in to cross the finish line. Because all that's gonna do is fester resentment. Even if like, okay, yeah, he really is plugging in, and it's like, okay, you've been in therapy for 9 months, like trying to make yourself the best you can be and working on yourself and getting fit and making your career where it should be. And he's just like, ugh. And now when he sees you rising to the occasion, he's like, okay, yeah, no, I'll do all this stuff. It's better than nothing, but I don't want a situation where that's the vibe. Well, it's better than nothing. I want more than expected. I want more than I could have possibly imagined in such a wonderful way. I want someone who's leading the conversation. I want someone who's helping to make me better. And, to my ex's credit, he was trying to do that a lot, and just whatever, who cares? Who fucking cares? Who cares? And so here's what you can do in quarantine, the State of the Union. Give yourselves an assignment and be like, hey, let's sit down tonight, just individually in our own like corners of the apartment, and come up with 3 things that would make this relationship better. I'm going to tell you 3 things that will make me feel happier, more secure, more confident, and more plugged into this relationship. And just start there. This is just a temperature check. Just start there and see what the other person says, because you probably think that you know. And he's probably like, oh, I can anticipate what she's going to say. But you might not. And when you write this down, make sure you are focusing on issues and not topics. Not topics. What's the difference? Okay. The difference is, if you load the dishwasher wrong one more goddamn time, I might as well just do all the dishes myself, because when you load them like that, they don't get clean. So then I have to do the dishes all over again. That's a topic. The issue is, you don't respect my emotional and physical labor in this relationship. I have to take care of all the drudgery, and you just sit there and act like you don't understand. And you do that with my feelings too. I try to communicate something, you're like, I don't know, I don't get it. And I feel like I'm shouldering the burden in this relationship. Because when we get on these like nitpicky, nagging things, they're symptoms of a larger issue. You know what I mean? And you got to look at that root issue and address that, and these other symptoms are going to ease, okay? And even if they don't, you can at least identify why they rankle you so bad, why they make you so insane when he puts the forks up and not down. They should go down. Because then when you pull them out, you're touching the handle, not the tines, which is the thing that goes in people's mouths. Also, you don't poke your finger when you take them out. Who do I have to explain this to? Who do I have to explain this to? Anyway. And so really hear each other out. And when you communicate about these things, ask him, it's like, okay, paint me the picture of our relationship when you have all these 3 needs met that you wrote down. You know, like, tell me day to day how our relationship would be different. Would we be spending more time together? Would we be spending less time together? Are we engaged in the same activity? You know, like, really just take me through the ideal day in your ideal relationship with me. And also take me through the larger plan. Take me through the next year and how this is going to affect our relationship in a positive way in the next year. Because when you identify the 3 things you want, you know, and start with 3. Don't be like, here are 25 things you're doing wrong. It's overwhelming and it's aggressive. And you want a spirit of collaboration, right? So start with just 3. That's going to help put everything in context. Because if he's like, I want to spend less time with your parents, you might be like, excuse the fuck out of you. Like, that might make you very spiky and defensive. But if he's like, I want that because when we come home from hanging out with your parents, you're stressed, you feel emotionally exhausted, you feel so drained, you feel resentful, and then I have to try to fix everything. I feel like I need to fix everything, and then you get mad at me because I'm not just listening, I'm trying to fix and I'm trying to meddle. So it's this domino effect in our relationship. And then if that's how it's, you know, talked out, you're like, oh, okay, I understand that now. So the issue is I don't have boundaries around my family. And he can be like, yes, exactly. Okay, now we have something that we can work on in a collaborative way, right? The worst thing you can do is right fighting. I've talked about right fighting before when we talk about Kourtney and Kim, because Kourtney is such a right fighter, and it's truly, truly the most destructive thing you can do for a relationship. Any relationship. A relationship with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, and certainly with your boyfriend. I am a right fighter. Because I'm a very good fighter and I'm a very bellicose person. I'm pretty warlike. And if you get into it with me, like, my mind works pretty fast. I do these videos with no script, no retakes. I just put a topic in and it comes out. So if you think I can't fight about something that I feel very passionately about, don't date me. Just, I promise you. But right fighting means I want to be right, not happy. Because if you want to be happy, if you look at your relationship as like, I truly want to be happy in this. I'm not bringing these issues up to turn the screw, to keep them in the doghouse, to shame them, because that's not actually going to get us to a happy place. It might get me to a victorious place, but it's peace versus victory, right? And when you set up that construct, your adversaries, victory happens in competition. It doesn't happen in a collaborative environment. It doesn't happen in friendships, in love. It happens in war. So if you are coming at this with a right fighting mentality, and you got to be real honest with yourself, if you want a war, baby girl, you're going to get a war. And in every war, there's casualties. And maybe, no, he's not going to walk out the door. Maybe he's going to stay in this relationship and it's going to be a sucky, detrimental, soul-sucking, unhappy relationship. And what kind of victory is that? True victory is harmony, right? True victory is peace. And when you can approach each other from a place of, I want to make this better from a collaborative standpoint. I want to work together. I want to know what you want from me and what you need from me, not just want. Because the things we say we want aren't always what we need. And we can't know what we need unless we spend time with ourselves. You can't know you can't be half of a whole if you don't know what half you are, right? And dating actually isn't 50-50, it's 100-100. You have to be 100 or as close to 100 as you can be on your own. And that doesn't mean you're done. Everyone's still a work in progress, but it means you've taken the time to be like, what do I need? What do I need? Because when I was younger, what I thought, I didn't focus on what I needed because I didn't know who I was. So how could I ever know what I needed? I focused on what I wanted, and I would date by types. I would date by good on paper. I'm like, I want a preppy guy. I want an emo guy. I wanted this. I wanted that. And to the surprise of literally no one in my life, it didn't yield happiness at all. It was hollow. And then I started fighting, and it's like, but I need you to be more like this. And they were like, what? So that's your homework. But what if you've done this homework? What if you've sat down with someone and like, look, this is what I need from you. I need you to plug in. I need you to stop drinking. I need you to get back to school. I need you to get off the couch. I need you to stop liking other girls' pictures on Instagram. I say things once and I don't repeat myself. Why? Because I prefer to sit back and listen then. People are going to say whatever they have to avoid trouble and to avoid having to say the words either, I'm just not that into you, or I am never going to change. People want to assume that they can change, right? I can become whoever I want to be. It's the American dream. I can do whatever. The reality is, it's almost impossible to change your favorite color. Imagine if a song you hate that's on the radio now, I hate that Doja Cat song, Say So. It's like 15 seconds of it is all I ever needed for the rest of my life, and it's on the radio constantly. And if someone's like, okay, you have to stop listening to Post Malone, your favorite, and you have to only listen to Doja Cat in order to keep this man, could you do it? I'd be like, nope. And that's merely a preference. That's merely a preference. That isn't how I fundamentally feel about like the opposite gender, about my role in a relationship, how I communicate, what I want from life, the big things. That's just like, that's the parsley on the plate. That's not the steak. So if someone can't change the parsley, you're asking them to swap out an entree? It's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. Not that it's impossible. You know, there's no impossible reversal, but people have to want to change. They gotta wanna listen to that stupid ass Doja Cat song. By the way, she needs to stay off Instagram Live if she's on cocaine. You stay off Insta Live. Go do blow, call your friends, FaceTime, stay off the internet, girl. You're gonna ruin that career before it even gets off the ground. You were fooling no one. They have to wanna change. And if I tell someone, hey, this is what I need to feel happy, whole, safe, emotional, and plugged into this relationship, and they're like, yep, and nothing changes, I don't listen to what they say. I don't listen to what they say. I observe what they do. And that takes some neutrality. And that takes me not projecting what I want them to do and seeing what I want to see, you know, in these like emotional loopholes. That takes a true step back and true evaluation and be like, am I seeing any sort of change here? Any sort of change? And change does not come fast. You can't even go from black hair to blonde hair in 3 months. You think you can change someone's entire relationship trajectory? That like how they fundamentally feel about cheating on you, how they feel about monogamy, how they feel about their career and ambition? Maybe not. So I'm not saying that like, oh, it's all doomed and don't have these conversations, because hopefully you are all always on the same page about these things anyway. Like I think Tom and Giselle are very much on the same page about their hatred of almonds and their devotion to each other. But it has to be like that. You have to have this foundation, because it's like that quote from Antoine Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince, love is not two people looking at each other, it's two people looking out in the same direction. Are you looking in the same direction? Are you seeing the same things? And this has nothing to do with, well, we're not like thinking about getting married yet. It has nothing to do with that. Even if you're just dating, this is a friendship we're talking about. And it's like, we're not looking out in the same direction anymore. We've grown and we haven't grown in the same direction. Sometimes it's best to take a step back and be like, okay, we both need to grow in our own way and then see how well our paths align, right? You plant two seeds at the exact same time, it's almost impossible that they're going to grow at the precise exact rate, in the precise exact leaf formation, and turn in the precise exact direction. That's simply not how growth works. Someone comes up first and the other one, they shoot and they sprout. That's growth. And if we were a seedling, or if we were growing something, we wouldn't put a little cone over one that's growing faster so that the shorter one could catch up. We'd be like, no, we're just gonna let that bigger one grow as fast as it needs to. And if the runty one doesn't catch up, runty one doesn't catch up. We're not going to inhibit the growth of something else to help this other one, because it doesn't work like that. Cutting that little flower down doesn't make that one stronger. It just cuts that one down. So sit with your partner and really figure out, but before you do, figure out what you need from this relationship and present it to them as such, like, I need this. And then assess their willingness to plug into this. And don't just listen to what they say. Read their body language. If they're giving you one-word answers, if they're gaslighting you, I don't even like talk to girls. What are you talking about? I don't like, so I like all these Instagram models. Who cares? They're gaslighting you and they're telling you that your emotional needs are stupid. And if someone is saying that, do you think that walks hand in hand with, but I'm going to change? Nope. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And no one is certainly going to change something that they're gaslighting you over, that they're telling you is stupid. They're telling you that because they don't want to rise to that standard. And that's fine. Some people are just meant to be pigeons and you're meant to be an eagle. And I've never seen an eagle, well, okay, just trot around with the goddamn pigeons eating cigarette butts and hot dogs off the streets of New York City. It's staying up in the stratosphere where it belongs. Hunting, flying, soaring, screeching. And that's what you should be doing. So maybe you're gonna have a great outcome like Tom and Giselle, where that was like a wake-up call and he's like, okay, I'm willing to make changes and sacrifice in my life to hold on to a relationship that is very important to me. And because we all need wake-up calls sometimes, like we don't know how our partner's feeling unless they tell us, and vice versa. But like I said, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So start acknowledging it within, then acknowledge it to your partner, and then see if they acknowledge it in return, not just with words, but with behaviors. For more, click like and subscribe. I'm doing a video every single day in quarantine. Follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO for some daily inspo. And like I said, if you have a question, find me on my website, shallonlester.com.